Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Monday, December 7th, 2009. This morning I'd like to go through the mapping tool in Object Studio 8.2 and show you how to use it to map a table in a database, I'm going to use Postgres, to objects in Smalltalk. So to get started, the first thing we need to do is load some code. So we're going to go to the Parcel Manager and bringing that over here into the view. What we're going to do is pick Database and we're going to scroll down to Postgres. We're going to right click and do a load. With that out of the way, what we need to do is go over here to the Load Application piece of Object Studio. Now, I will admit that this is a little disjoint the way you're bringing in some pieces that are VisualWorks libraries and some pieces that are Object Studio, but it all works together. So we're going to bring in the mapping tool. You don't need to worry about any of these other things down here because this brings in all the basic stuff you need, at least for this demo. There are some demos here, a tutorial on sales tutorial and so on, but we're not going to go through that right now. Okay, with that in, what we can do is close this. And you see there's an icon right here in the launcher, so we're going to double click that. And that brings up the mapping tool, which we're going to put up here. And what we're going to do is make this a little smaller so it's into our viewport. So we're going to first create a new atlas. This is our definition of our thing. So we're going to say Notes Atlas, because I have a table called Notes. I'm going to create that, and it's going to be active record based. Once I've done that, I'm going to add a database. So I'm going to see that there's no databases available, so I'm going to add one. And it asks me for my credentials, so I'm going to tell it it's Postgres and the password and the environment. I have to pick which database it is. There are a bunch of them mapped in. Access is not the one I'm using, so I'm going to scroll down here until I get to Postgres, select that, and now I'm going to connect. Now I need to pick something other than information scheme. It just has these in alphabetic, so I'm going to pick public. And I'm going to go to Add Tables. You see there's one table here called Notes. I'm going to select that. It's going to map that over. And now at this point I can go to Class, Generate. And it's going to ask me where I want to put it. I'm going to put it in the atlas I've got here. So I'm going to say OK. It gives me that. One other thing I'm going to generate in the atlas, I'm going to write the descriptor system. Underneath the mapping tool, we're using glurp. So we have a descriptor system that describes the tables. We're going to write that out. And it's again going to ask me where to put it. I'm going to say fine, put it there. Now at this point I can close the mapping tool and let's just take a look at what we've got. We'll go to Tools, Class Browser, and I'll right click and find the class. So I scrolled off there a bit, but we'll find Notes, bring this into the view, and you see I've got a subclass of persistent object called Notes, and I've got my descriptor system, and these are all things that if you've watched any of my web velocity videos or glurp videos, you've recognized this kind of construction before. So I've mapped all of this stuff in from the database into Smalltalk objects. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll open up a workspace. Because I've got a little bit of code sitting in a workspace that we will work with to get some basic queries done. So we're going to open, and I've got this mapping test code right here. Now in here you see that I'm creating a new glurp login, giving it my username and password, which I've got defined up at the top of the script. Obviously I don't want to give those away because the password happens to be one I use in other places. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to this database using Postgres, using this descriptor system that I had the system define for me. Then I'm going to log in. I'm going to get all of the Notes objects out of the database and execute it. So I'm going to put the cursor down here, and I'm going to do a Smalltalk inspect, and this should come back empty because the table is empty. There's nothing there. So not a lot of excitement. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to comment this out, and now I'm going to uncomment this bit down here where I create a new node object and throw it in the database. And now if I put the cursor down at the bottom, I can do a Smalltalk execute, and it should toss one in. And just to show that, let's recomment this and uncomment this. We'll put the cursor at the end here, and we'll do a Smalltalk inspect. And you see now I've got an object there. I just tossed it in, so I have my ID, my description, the time it was created, and the title. So I was able to go ahead, map the database table over into Smalltalk objects, drop a new object into the database using the active record kind of framework code, and then just go ahead and query it back out. Once it was there, I got an array, which is just the one thing coming back. But that's some basic database interaction where I did the basic heavy lifting of creating the mapping over in the mapping tool, and then I can write Smalltalk code to my heart's content now to get stuff out of the database, put stuff in the database, write GUIs using the Object Studio GUI tools to have all of this in whatever kind of format makes sense for my application. So that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.